Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Cambridge International Tournament run by the ECF and supported by the University Arms Cambridge and the Chess Trust. And we are joining round 8. We're doing kind of pop into round 8. Will be probably like an hour and a half, something like that. So just the start of round 8, joined by GM Danny Gormally. Hello, Danny.
Hi, Natasha. Yeah, it's really getting exciting now. What I've noticed about this tournament actually is that, it really comes down to nerves, So it's like people play great chess, but then at some point in the game, you just have to hold your nerve.
Yeah. And who's your tip? Like, because at the top board, we've got Tiviakov, who has like a very experienced GM, played at the really top level. Do you think he will manage to hold his nerve?
He's probably. Actually, I thought his pairing in a live round was quite a good pairing for him because he's, like you say, he's very experienced, and he's also quite a solid player. I mean, he's one of these players that had a long unbeaten run at one point, where he just
he didn't lose a game for like over 100, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't lose a game, and he's playing against Jonah Willow, who has been playing really well in this tournament.
Yeah,
but Jonah, I think he's the type of player that tends to pick off like loose players. He's got very good prep, and he tends to be very good at like picking off loose players. But Tiviakov's a different type of challenge for him. He's a very solid player, and he wasn't able to overcome that challenge, so that's interesting. And then we got Fernandez, who's obviously in contention.
Yes, Mickey Adams against Daniel Fernandez.
And that's an interesting.
I'm going to actually put some chess on the screen as well.
Yeah. Because talk about our game.
They haven't started. They have started, obviously, but they haven't. It's not live yet. Yes.
Oh, okay, that's maybe
the 15-minute delay.
Imagine.
Oh no, sorry. Yes, it is.
Good.
Just come up now. So we were talking about Mickey and Daniel. So let's have that on the screen while we just chat about that. Yeah.
So it's an interesting scenario because when they met in the British Championships in Leicester, Adams was just coming off the back of a slightly disappointing result where he drew with White against Gasanov. And then you got the same scenario here, where he just had White against Sonis and drew, which is a slightly disappointing result, and he gets the double White, just as he got in the British against Fernandez. He beat Fernandez, but Fernandez played a kind of centre counter, a slightly dubious variation of centre counter in that game.
Right.
But obviously, the other thing worth mentioning is the fact that Fernandez took a bye, which is a very interesting scenario. So he's actually super fresh for this game, whereas Adams had a long end game in the morning.
That's interesting. He took a bye, maybe just to. Do you think just to stay fresh like this for the final rounds?
Yeah, possibly, and also maybe he wanted to avoid playing black against Adams. Well, ironically, he's still going to have to play black against Adams anyway.
Oh, funny, yeah.
But then again, if you want to win Cambridge,
you're
going to have to beat Adams. Do you even deserve winning Cambridge if you don't necessarily have to beat Adams, but you have to get a result against him?
Yeah.
So like he'd obviously take a draw right now, but he's not going to get like a draw offer probably. But
he's been playing well, hasn't he, Daniel Fernandez?
And actually it all started for him in the same tournament last year because he came into it and he was rated about 2480 and a great tournament. He came second to Adams outright. And that kind of was the start of his run. So obviously he went to Cambridge. He attended Cambridge University.
Yeah.
Obviously felt kind of good vibes about the place. And but honestly, I think that taking a bye is a mistake, tactical error. Because,
Yeah.
Well, because he was tied for lead and you've lost that kind of momentum.
I must admit, right, I play quite a bit of mind sports tournaments, and I now and like you try and get the highest result over your top 5 results. But now I do take buys, like I do. And I just find that overall the extra you gain from being a bit fresher and not being tired. I guess it depends like on particular tournament and who you're going to be playing.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a massive. I would argue, Natasha, that I don't think you should be allowed to take buys. I don't think buys should exist, and the reason for that is a massive advantage. He's coming into this game super fresh. It's a massive advantage. You imagine that if you had that in Wimbledon, that sort of like Nadal had to play back-to-back matches and Djokovic had a day off.
But you do have that in Wimbledon because some of them have 2 days gap between their games, and some of them have to play the very next day and all that sort of thing. And it's kind of luck of the draw or seedings or whatever. But it is often a bit like one player's much better rested than the other. But it does always seem unfair when that happens.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a double-edged sword because on one hand you're fresher, but on the other hand, if you've been playing in the morning, then you kind of just bounce straight into the next game.
Yeah.
If you were like not playing in the morning, you took a bye, then you spent the whole morning like potentially worrying about the game. I'm not sure. Daniel tends to be quite a relaxed person, so I don't think he will be that bothered. But I just think it breaks your momentum because you were tied for lead with Tiviakov and Jonah Willow.
Yeah.
If you'd have won that game, if you'd have won the morning game, then potentially you could have been okay. It might not have transpired that way because obviously Tiviakov won, but you might have been outright leader. But as soon as you take a bye, you're then relying on that game to be a draw. Otherwise, you're losing control of the tournament. Would be my argument.
This is a Caro-Kann we're seeing here.
Yeah, so he's taken a much more solid approach, which I think is a sensible thing. He's saying, look, I'm going to play a little bit of theory in this game. I'm going to respect you and not play some kind of inferior line. I'm going to try and follow the theory, right? Which is
so E5, Bishop F5. But aren't they, sometimes they're playing H4 here, aren't they?
They can play H4. I think after H4, a good reply. I mean, the best, actually, there was a recent game that I had against Harry Grieve with there's very sharp variations after H5. There's also some game played in Florencial between David Eggleston White against John Spillman, where they went down all this theory. So there is a lot. Also, black can go H6, for example, G4, Bishop H7 is another variant. It might be worth turning the engine off as well.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because then white goes E6.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then presumably takes.
Yeah, and then I think do you go Bishop D3 here? Probably go Bishop D3.
Probably do, and then try and trade off the light square bishop and then.
Yeah, and it's very murky. It's very murky. This is all some kind of theory.
Yeah.
I think. Sometimes white can go F4 to kind of later on play F4 to kind of stop black playing E5 themselves, because otherwise you might try and play E5 and break out. Like Queen D6 and E5 would be a potential plan for black.
Yeah. But Mickey's avoided all this. He's not going for the H4 line, but going knight F3.
The old Nigel Short quiet variation, which is knight F3. And this is what they used to play when they used to start playing E5 again. They used to play this knight F3, Nigel Short variation, knight F3 and E6. Knight F3 and then bishop E2 and just quietly develop. And then the problem for black in these variations is how do you get your kingside pieces out, because your knight is blocked from going to F6.
Yeah.
So one way they can solve the development, Natasha, is go knight E7 to C6 and put the other knight on D7.
Right. You still got to get that one out, though.
But once you get the knight to C6 and you put the knight on D7, you can go to E7. So that would kind of be like ideal development for black.
Yeah.
But white obviously has some ideas as well, right?
So C5 castles and knight C6. So Danny's not giving away which way he's going. So C3.
A6, right?
A6.
Bishop E3. Right, that's interesting, right? So logically, you might be worried about the capture on C5 now, because you would lose a pawn. So your options are maybe to take on D4. How would you play here, Natasha? How would you develop as black?
For black, yeah. tricky, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe they can't get the queen out, can they? Because if you like for this to try and put pressure on here and here, but
yeah,
I guess
they can do that. Sometimes they do go queen b6 these variations, but yeah, I mean it's another option. I just wondered if you could just simply develop like just take on d4, because presumably the white can consider taking with the knight because you're hitting f5, but he probably will take back the pawn, I suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect it's about the pawn. And then let's say I just went knight e7. How bad is this? Is it really bad? I mean, it just looks about equal, but let's say I went knight c3.
Knight c3.
Yeah, then let's say I went knight g6. The problem that black has is that bishop on f5 becomes a target for white. From what I remember about these lines, it was like funky moves like knight e1 and then maybe intending g4.
Yeah.
Let's say you went bishop e7 and then I went g4, and then like what do you do with the bishop?
You got to put it here and swap it off, right?
But then f3, maybe I just trap the bishop and maybe I win the bishop.
This has gone wrong then for black. It's gone majorly wrong.
So this is an illustration of what can happen if you're a little bit. I mean, you can play h6 at some point, but the problem is if you put the knight on g6, you've not got that retreat square with a bishop. So it might be that you put the knight on c8.
So maybe black should delay a bit before going knight g6.
That's right, knight g6. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, you can put the knight on c8, Natasha, maybe.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it looks bad, but like, how does white? Let's say you went knight e1, and then some move like knight e1 might be playable, but then maybe.
The chat's suggesting h6 and g5, another black option.
Yeah, that's often what black plays. There's somebody called Gani Gormally in the chat.
Yes, Gani Gormally was on the other day. We were wondering who that reminded us of.
Sounds like a familiar person. Obviously a fan,
Patterson.
not a troll by any means.
Hi, BD Gambatier and Christian Kenchev.
Yeah, but the problem is if I go h6 and g5, you're absolutely right. That is a potential plan for black. But I always feel those kind of moves are very weakening, right? What do you think, Natasha?
Yeah.
I'll be concerned about playing that, especially against someone like Adams. He's almost like a surgeon, right? Even the way he moves the pieces, he's like a surgeon. It's just very accurate. He moves at the center of the square. He always seems to be in control, right? He's always got that look of like complete control. And he does.
Whereas Daniel Fernandez likes chaos in the position, doesn't he? So, because he sometimes doesn't he would play something a little bit risky and not very main line.
Yeah.
To get play and chances in the position.
But actually, I noticed a lot of his games end up in endgame grinds, like the game that he had yesterday. So I think that's where he's improved, because I think he always had that ability to mix it up. But in more recent times, where you see the improvement is become much better at exploiting edges in the endgame, and he's actually become almost like a feared operator in that sense.
Maybe he's been studying the endgame then.
Oh yeah.
With, Julian Hodgson, and he said he played because he's really known for attacking chess and not really about endgames or anything at all. But then his wife made him study this endgame book from beginning to end, and then she tested him. And he suddenly became an expert in endgame. And he said he gained 100, 200 rating points just from learning those endgames with his wife testing him.
Yeah, I think that's very true, Natasha. I think especially nowadays it's so hard to win games in chess tournaments because people are so well prepared. And that's why Magnus Carlsen has had so much success, because he's a great grinder.
Yeah.
And, you need that ability to be able to grind it. It's no point getting good positions and not being able to grind them out. You've got to have that ability. So he's shown that recently that he can he can grind out a lot of positions that probably, like a couple of years ago, maybe he wouldn't have been able to win.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his attitude as well, the fact that you just want to keep going, you just want to you've equalised the game, but I'm just going to keep playing, right? And that kind of puts the doubt in your opponent's mind. If, on the other hand, you have this attitude where, like you say, like someone like Bogdan Lalic, he's a great player, he's got great understanding, but I think he's too theoretically based.
Yeah, and he wants the game to be over. Yeah, I think if you, as you say, if you want to keep the game going, it's kind of much better for your chess than if you want the game to be over all the time.
I mean, ironically, Bogdan, I think, is a great technical player, which you need to be good at the end game. And he obviously is very good at the end game. But the point is that because he became maybe too obsessed with theory, if somebody equalizes against him, then he kind of becomes a little bit, too in love with that whole point. And he would often give them a draw. Whereas, if you have that attitude, that it doesn't really matter. The equalizer game I'm going to keep playing, then that obviously sort of puts that doubt in the opponent's head.
Now, we need to, I promised that we would look at Rich Pert v. Ruqaiya Rida, because Ruqaiya has, in the last 2 rounds, she's beaten Mark Hebden and then drawn with Peter Wells, and now she's playing Rich Pert, and she knows Rich Pert because she has been definitely at training at the school Rich teaches at, and so it's going to be a big match, this one. Before it started, we asked Rich if it was going to be a Trompovsky, but it appears not.
Right. He's played with fairness. He's not tried to hustle or anything. He's said, look,
not trying to hustle. He's just going for a position.
Yeah, I mean, Richard's had an up and down tournament because he's kind of it was a little bit unlucky against Adams because he was actually winning against Adams. It's the kind of position that if you tap,
there was a rook sack, exchange sack.
Yeah, exchange sack, exactly. It's the kind of position if you tap somebody on the shoulder and you say, look, you're winning, you're going to find a win. But obviously, when you're playing against Adams, he's got a great reputation. Then it's very easy to kind of think, you don't see the sacrifice. You just don't believe that he's going to blunder like that. And obviously, again, with a lot of these games, Natasha, you don't get extra time after move 40. So it will come down to some kind of blitz hustle.
It'll be quick at the end,
Yeah, someone like Adams, who thinks very quickly, processes variations very quickly, he has an advantage over most players, and it possibly is amplified the quicker the time control. So that's always tough. Especially the latter part of the tournaments, like which we're coming to now, where it's going to come down to nerves, and I think his speed of calculation could be crucial.
Yeah. All right. We better check in on board 1 then. Tiviakov against Halbro. And we've got a Sicilian here. So let's see how this goes. E4, C5. Aha, knight C3.
Right. Oh, my God. Yeah. It's kind of like a move order move, though, isn't it? Because after A6, he hasn't gone like F4. He's gone like... Because sometimes you go knight C3, and then the idea is if you go D6, you go F4, and you play into a...
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So free attack.
Free, but he's not doing that. Was he doing close Sicilian or King's Indian attack or something?
Oh, he is playing close Sicilian, which is probably an underrated opening because you can't... It's very hard for black to get any... when you play the normal Sicilian, you're going to get some kind of counter-attacking chances. When they stodge it up like this, then how do you get chances black? You've got to be much more patient and hope that the chances will come later in the game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing Tivi's playing for a win rather than trying to draw this, but he's like another of these players that's just trying to get to the end game and then kind of win a slow
Yeah, he kind of transposes into a normal kind of Sicilian, right? Because he went D4.
Right, D4 now, yes.
I mean, this guy had a great win against Sheras Royal in the morning, and he's obviously well prepared. So he probably thinks by playing this kind of offbeat system, I'm going to avoid any kind of super preparation that he might have had. Although I don't know how much time you have to prepare, because obviously the last
they've had very little time to prepare, because they only just finished, and then it's you know, then you have to get lunch and make sure you you know, walk around the block or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So he's gone for this B3 move, which is a very dry way to play, which is double fianchetto, but very solid. And how will Black play? You can't go B5 at the moment, probably, because move E5.
E5, yeah.
So how does Black develop?
You could probably, could you get away with knight C6?
You probably can, yeah. I mean, I do have the option of taking and going E5 then.
Okay, yes.
But I'm not sure if it's a good option or not. No. It might be though here. It might actually be a reasonable option. There is knight D5 though.
Knight D5, yeah. And there's lots going on in all, like this is a strong diagonal and this one is.
You could get like a massive trade-off. But I don't think White would go in for all this E5.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, the other option is you could play with like Bishop G4. It might be a slightly inferior move. And then after F3, just drop back to D7. No, Bishop D7, sorry, probably.
You've already done 4 hours of streaming today. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's tiring. People don't realise how tiring it is.
I know. It doesn't seem like it would be, but yeah. Because there's lots going on as well as the chess. You're kind of drawing arrows and.
yeah. I mean, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
But after Bishop B2, say for example.
Yeah.
Let's say I went knight C6 now. What's this kind of position like? I don't know. Again, maybe White could even consider maybe going knight D5. Is that an option? And just playing for a tiny edge. That's probably a bit dry, right?
Yeah, it kind of depends what he wants out of the game, isn't it? But you could imagine that.
I mean, another move maybe is King H1 instead of Knight D5. Knight D5 looks a bit because Knight E4 is not really a threat because I just take out the knight. So let's say I took on D4 exchanges, or Queen takes, and I went Bishop C6, intending Knight E4 maybe now is a threat. Yeah, but I dropped the Queen back somewhere like Queen D2 or something like that. Now we go B5. Maybe I'll just get out of the way with knight E2. Oh no, knight E2 does knight E4. So again, I'm blundering. So maybe the last move I should have put the queen somewhere else so that knight E4 wasn't working. Maybe Queen D3 was more accurate.
Yeah.
Although you also have moves like knight D7. I'm thinking about it. Knight D7 might be an option.
Because it's slightly unusual, isn't it, with this knight to have the pawn, like when you fianchetto this bishop and have the knight, you'd maybe have the knight maybe he wants to move the knight, you know, like knight D5 or something, and get the pawn.
Yeah, Kubiakov has a lot. You're absolutely right. He's got a lot of experience. He's played. I mean, funny enough, Adams was like an old rival of Tiviakov.
Yeah.
And they played some great games back in the day. In fact, it was a famous match. I remember hearing about it. Was they played it might have been a PCA World Championship match, candidates match in New York in Trump Tower.
Oh, I know Trump. Yeah, Trump Tower.
Yeah. And apparently, what Adams was saying was that this was in the shopping part of the Trump Tower in New York.
Right.
And it was quite near the toilets as well. So they're playing this match. It was quite near the toilets. So, you know. But I think at the prize giving, Donald Trump made a brief appearance.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So, you know, this is going back to the 1990s, I think. And, yeah, interesting part of chess history. So these kind of players, they kind of emerged in the same sort of era. Adams and Tiviaka, probably similar kind of age as well, I think.
Yeah, Tivy's. Yeah, he must be, mustn't he? He was one of our people in Chess for Life, and I think he'd just turned about 40 then. Yeah, so he.
Somebody said, by the way, do you agree with this, Natasha? Chessable is basically ruined chess. Everyone is so well prepared.
Well, I mean, I think people are well prepared, that's for sure. And I think Chessable does help you get well prepared, because I can just without normal, in the old days, I used to have to really try to go and kind of learn. And not when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I could happily sit and learn endgame openings. I mean, and I didn't mind. But then as an adult, I kind of find it hard to sit and learn my openings. But with Chessable, then I can actually it just sort of tells me which ones I have to remember, and I can just do it on the train on the way to work and stuff. And
yeah, I mean, the whole approach of working with Chessable is, I mean, I'll be honest, I never really, when I was trying to get better, I never really used that kind of approach of just learning by rote. It was more like I just played for a lot of games. I had like an openings book.
Yeah.
Openings books and stuff like magazines, and played a lot as well.
Yeah.
As far as Chessable is concerned, but the thing is that obviously with Chessable and opening fashion in general, they tend to follow certain lines. So if you play like a line like Tiviakov was playing, it might not be that well known. So it's probably why he's trying to avoid this kind of Chessable preparation.
Yeah.
Because there's probably not really like a very popular course about it on Chessable. Do they have the closed Sicilian? They probably have the closed Sicilian on Chessable, but it's maybe not
everything. I'm sure they have
everything.
Every opening. But to learn them all, right? You couldn't even do that.
Well, I was chatting with the CEO of Chessable the other day, a guy called Gert, and he said that they pretty much got every line covered now, other than maybe one or two openings. But you can still do openings. Obviously, you can still write opening courses for them, but be aware that they will have already been done by other people, and sometimes by very strong players like people like Geary. And if I write an openings course back to Groenfeld, am I going to do a better job than Peter Svidler? Probably not, right? So
but you'll get people that kind of want to follow your stuff. And also, right, say you write on one opening and another opening that are all kind of part of your repertoire. They might all fit together as one repertoire. So if someone's got one of your things, they might need to get.
That's what he was saying. Like they got people who have created their own libraries within Chessable. So, for example, someone like Shankland or Selecki, they've got so many different courses, and it creates a kind of snowball effect. So if somebody has already bought your course on the French defense, for example, they're going to buy your course on the Caro, stuff like that. And that makes sense, actually. So some people within Chessable are kind of industries within themselves, like people like Anish Giri and Sam Shankland, and they do very well. But obviously there will be a lot of people that, someone like Zoe Varney, for example, who's a very good female player. She is actually...
Is she writing something?
No, but part of her strength is she's got a full-time job.
Me too. Oh, not quite.
Like me. I know you work full-time as well. But but a lot of her improvement has come from working on Chessable. And maybe I need to spend more time myself. I mean, obviously I've done courses for Chessable. Maybe I need to spend more time myself working. It'd be interesting actually to know, how many of these players playing on top boards actually use Chessable, and have they found that has been a productive thing? I would imagine people like
someone said to me, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, said Misra, the American, very young GM. That he'd learnt one of Sam Shankland's courses, I think they said. He'd learnt it absolutely inside out. Wow. Played it in a tournament in Europe, and nobody knew the moves, and he was just winning game after game with it.
Yeah, you would do. I mean, actually, I remember having this conversation with Mark Hebden. It was during the pandemic, and it was at some tournament. It was British Championships actually in Hull, but they had a small British Championships, and it was like a sort of. And he was talking about the theory, and he mentioned the chessable course. He said they do, talk about this line on Chessable, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's not something I thought about. Maybe I need to be checking out Chessable more myself, But the problem is, I'm kind of like ants in my pants. If I've got the patience to sit there and go through lines on the computer, I find it easier with a physical book in my hand.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just find it easier with a physical book. Kind of. Even that I struggle with, so many of these kind of opening books to go through so many different lines, and it's like,
yeah, that's what I like with Chessable. Is just it tells me, like, I play the line, I forget bits of it, and then it will test me on the bits I forget, so it kind of helps me remember that stuff. But obviously I'm not quite at a stronger level, then people won't just be trying to remember some lines. They'll need to know a whole lot more stuff.
Sure.
Let's see board 4. So another Sicilian, and we've got Robeson.
Right.
So Peter Robeson against Eldar Gasanov. And we've got Queen C7 here, Knight B5.
Right, that's not a move I'm familiar with. Knight DB5 looks very strange. That's not a move I'm, again, trying to avoid theory, bro. Because normally I've seen Knight DB5 there, but Knight CB5, I don't know about you, Natasha, but that looks like a very unusual move.
Yeah, I don't know it. So here, and
I guess the idea is he wants to just put the knight on, exchange on. I think he's just trying to avoid theory. I don't think you really get an advantage with that move, but
yeah.
So Bishop D3, Knight F6.
Castle, Bishop B7, Queen E2, and Knight E5 is where they've got to.
Right. Yeah, can I go F4 here?
Let's see. So F4.
Yeah.
Maybe take on D3?
Yeah, take on D3. It's about the pawn.
And so this knight does have squares to drop back to, at least, if it needs to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I could maybe go A6.
A6, Knight C3.
Right, now what do I do? Because if Bishop C5, you have Bishop B3. If B5, maybe E5 is annoying. Maybe I'll just go D6 and hold you up for a little bit.
D6. Okay. So.
But then E5 anyway, right? And I'm still
E5,
concerned that maybe that's creating some chances. Because the knight can always drop back to F3 to defend the E5 pawn.
Yeah. And so, like, White's got, I guess, initiative and pieces out in the middle. But if we get to the end game, then these bishops might be good.
That's right, yeah. But I think White should probably go E5 there, because I think you need to kind of take advantage of your leading development. Queen on B8 looks a bit weird as well.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I could carry that variation on. I could take and then go Knight D7. I have a tendency to think, well, that's good. Let's not bother analysing it anymore. But let's say I took, and then Knight D7, maybe Bishop C5 could be thrown in with all this. Let's say I went Knight. Do I go Bishop F4 here, or do I go Knight? I'll probably go Knight F3, because I don't want to. And now let's say I lashed out with B5. What's this like? Maybe it's okay for black, actually.
Yeah. If you go B4, then this looks like White's okay with that.
But no, E5 might be hanging.
Yes. Okay, so might need to play Bishop F4.
Bishop F4 is logical, right? Exactly. And then Bishop B7, maybe. Or castles is another option. But let's say I went Bishop B7. That looks the most logical move. It looks okay for black, actually.
Yeah.
Or probably about relatively equal. So you could get a variation like this in theory. This actually reminds me of a variation I had against John Ems once in a game Scarborough in 1999.
Okay.
But he never went B5 because he miscalculated his variation, and then I ended up winning quite easily. But there's always important games throughout your career. I wonder whether somebody will play an important game in this round. And like Fernandez might be Adams with black. I mean, what that would be amazing, right? Nobody ever beats.
We've got to check in again now. Yeah. Oh, he did play Queen B6.
Yeah, you've nailed it yet again.
Queen D2, Bishop G4, and Rook D1. Okay.
He's a very good positional player, isn't he, Adams? He just like always seems to play unhurried chess. But how bad is it if you just went? The problem is if I go 97, you might be tempted to take on C5. And then I guess you've got some comp anyway, like Queen C7.
Yeah.
Bishop F4. I don't know what's this like. There's like moves like Knight G6.
Knight G6.
Looks okay for black actually.
Yeah.
But then B4, I guess. B4 is a problem.
The position's starting to look like one that Daniel might kind of like this. That, you know, there's lots going on. And
yeah, but if it's... No, you're right. If it's bad, it's bad. Maybe F6 here is a move. Like, yeah, blowing the position up. But then maybe I just go like C4 and go full Merc.
Whoa. This would be fun.
Yeah, but fun for who? That's the problem.
Probably fun for white.
Exactly. So maybe if you go back a few moves, is there a simpler way to play for black? Because you're kind of like thinking, right, how do I reduce the danger level? Could I just take on F3, for example, take back with a bishop, I guess, and then take on D4, and then go something like Knight E7? How bad is that?
Okay.
Is it just terrible? I mean, am I just a patzer for even suggesting? Maybe I am. I guess you go Knight C3 though, right?
Yeah.
Knight F5. Is there sacrifices like Bishop D5 in the air? Possibly, but feels too much. Probably not.
Ooh.
So maybe I could, yeah, if I want to avoid any danger. I'm sure Daniel is thinking cautiously here. I'm thinking he just wants to make us play a solid game and force Mickey to show something special. Because really, actually, that last game in Leicester, he never really got out of the opening. And that's always frustrating as a chess player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're always on the back foot, and you never really felt like you had a chance to express yourself and play chess. Yeah,
we had one. I don't know if you saw the end of the stream I did this morning, and we had a pair come in, and Turan, I think, lady's name, and White had managed to do like G4 early in a Sicilian, and she'd got her knight she'd got bishop to E7, but then couldn't get her knight out. And it was like there was not, you know, even though that was like move 6 or 7 or something like that, it was really hard to get back in the game after that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it can be depressing, but the opening is a huge part of the game, like we said. And I think what people were talking about with Chessable is that it's very hard. Yeah, I found that myself actually in recent tournaments. You're playing against 2100, 2200 players. A lot of them are quite young as well.
Yeah.
Some actually low rated than that, like 1900, 2000. And you think, well, you know, 15, 20 years ago, I would have put this kind of player away like easily.
Yeah.
But now they're so well prepped. They've narrowed what they're saying. They've narrowed the kind of the difference. So you need something special. You need a kind of like a Fernandez or Adams philosophy of just keep grinding away. You know, being well versed in the opening and having good middle game skills doesn't seem to be enough now. You need something special in the end game phase, which these guys have got. You know, they got that grinding ability, which is why they're able to still stay ahead of the pack. But maybe like you said, with the Julian Hodgson thing. Funny enough, when I was writing a book recently, I did work on my technical side of the game, and I noticed that immediately I had results. When I started playing more technically and being less dependent on middle game,
Getting attacked,
and just said, look, I can play rook and pawn end games. I can do this. I can do that. My results just shut up.
So are the opening lines in chessable engine lines? I think everything in chessable is engine checked.
It's all checked with cloud engines,
yeah. So you wouldn't get a line that the engine. You shouldn't get lines that the engine really thinks is bad. But sometimes
I'll put that in the course. I'll put that in the course. I don't mind if it's. I said actually, I was writing a bit earlier, and I said I don't mind if it's like clear plus for white if it's a murky position. The engine might say it's clear plus, but like human versus human, there's potential to outplay them. What I won't give is a line where you're just losing by force.
Yeah.
I mean, this is part of the problem when you're writing courses now and you're writing books and stuff. It's very hard to be truly creative because you've constantly you might say, look, well, this is good or this is interesting, but then your engine smashes it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the readers care as much as people think, but it's something you have to bear in mind that, it's very difficult to like recommend a course. And someone comes back to you and says, actually, that was rubbish what you recommended because the engine was saying it's just losing, I played this in a game and I lost because of your recommendation.
Yeah. All right, I've switched us on to Francesco Sonis against Matthew Wadsworth. So this is third board.
Yeah.
And so both players are still in contention. And we've got, I guess, keep both kings on the queen's side. And a little bit, I guess this is going to be, I feel like it's going to be quite a long end game that they play.
It's like watching paint dry some of these games. But yeah, it's true. It's kind of like a queenless middle game because all the pieces are on the board. I mean, it looks about equal, but obviously, objectively, Black you played a very combative move, C5. I think Wadsworth is another player who's very well prepared.
Yeah.
And he's been getting some pretty good results. Actually, he's a good player. Like C5 is a good move. Confidently played. He's not. That's an interesting move because I wouldn't have considered playing C5 there. I would have maybe looked for E5 break.
Looks to me like if white takes either way, it doesn't help white very much because if white takes that way, they'll end up with these kind of isolated. Yeah. And if white takes that way, you maybe get that in hitting this bishop.
Maybe what you should do is take on D5 anyway, right? I mean, I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
That. Oh, but maybe the idea is to take on D4.
Takes.
Yeah, maybe this is the idea, and then you take back because
take here.
Oh, okay, that's also possible. Yeah, then I'll take on C3, I guess.
C3, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Maybe, yeah, and then take back the rook, or actually, when you take, I can take on B2, right? Take on B2.
I'll take on B2.
Oh, do you have Bishop C4? Maybe.
Bishop C4.
Maybe this is all wrong on this analysis stuff. So possibly, actually, if you go back, was there another alternative?
Yeah.
So when you took on D5, maybe you do just take back, right? Let's say with a pawn.
Yeah.
And if I take on C5, knight takes. Can I play a move like Bishop E2 just to keep
drop the bishop back? Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
And is there a way that Black can maybe equalize quickly? Maybe they could go knight E6.
Going for D4, maybe.
Yeah, my plan is to go Bishop B6. And then, yeah, as you say, and then eventually D4. So the question is whether white could do something. Let's say I stack. You use the Nakamura term, you stack the rook. You go rook D2.
Stack the rooks. Right, we're going to start using these terms.
Yeah. Stack the rook, and I've got the wooden shield, and I've got the
These juices. These juices.
The juices. I've got the juicer. Yeah. I'm sure he uses these terms when he analyses games with Magnus Carlsen as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
While keeping a straight face. Actually, David Howe made a tweet about whether he should stream or not. Maybe he could stream. He seems too polite to do all this kind of Title Tuesday, speed run where you're kind of humiliating other players. And
David, yeah.
He's a very good commentator, though. I've seen him on Chess 24, and he's very good at kind of capturing the kind of middle ground between like having a super grand mastermind, but also being able to chat to a wider audience. So let's say bishop b6, but then rook d1, right? Maybe I have an issue. So maybe I should stack myself.
Are you going to stack?
I'll stack earlier. I won't go bishop b6. I'll stack immediately with rook d7.
Yeah.
And then rook d1. And then rook hd8.
Double stack.
Triple stack,
Triple stack. Yeah.
And that seems to be okay for black, because now I'm going to get bishop b6, and there's no. Well, maybe you could play f4. Maybe do it f4, bishop b6, bishop f3. What's going on there? Then d4, right? And I seem to be doing quite well because I'm hitting d4 enough times. I can just take on d4.
Yeah.
And maybe black is even playing to be better, because if you exchange dark square bishops, you could end up with an advantage because your pawn structure is slightly better.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the sort of thing that might happen, but my ability to predict the next few moves in a chess game is almost as bad as my ability to predict the actual results. So. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Should we do board 8, actually? Kai Hanash has been having a good tournament. And he's taking on IM Nicholas Vashinger.
Oh, yeah. From Germany, is he? Maybe?
Yeah.
From Germany, right.
Yeah. And Kai is a London player.
Right.
So what have we got? Another Sicilian. Sicilians today. Najdorf.
Right. Yeah, bishop e2. Yeah, this is all right. Bishop e2 is kind of like an old style move, but it's a pretty solid move.
Yeah.
And of course, black.
Time is finished, by the way. Yes, Matthew Turner, Ian Gorley. I'm assuming that was just like a quick draw, but we can have a look and see what happened in a moment.
Yeah, Matthew Turner, he is known for occasionally having quick draws, especially as he'd probably be tired after the morning game.
He won this morning, didn't he, against Dishy? He had quite a long game.
Yeah, Gourlay's having a good. I drew with him in the 4-CL the other day, and then I was disappointed with that result because I generally had a great score against him. But now I'm seeing him here and the way he's playing, I'm thinking actually it was a better result than I realised.
Yeah.
So this is all like possible theory.
Okay, and then knight a5, looking swap off. So white does swap off. e4, queen d7, and knight d5 is where they've got to.
Yeah, it looks like a logical move, knight d5, actually, because if you take with the bishop,
which he's done already just now.
Yeah, I guess black will go b5 because otherwise you might get c4. So let's see ed.
Yeah.
He's going to have to obviously take that. Maybe b5 is the way because.
Okay, clamping down. So this one.
Yeah, because otherwise white would get c4 and have a very nice position.
Yeah.
So, like in a prophylactic measure, as well as being an aggressive.
You could still go. Could you still go c4?
You could maybe even go a4 as another option.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
I quite like white's position. I quite like what White's done so far in this opening.
He didn't go b5 in the end. He went knight d7.
Yeah.
Is he trying to go f5 maybe?
Yeah, he wants to go f5. Yeah, exactly, Natasha. So let's say he went c4.
Yeah.
I'll allow f5. Allow you to play f5. And now, can I get away with f4, or is that just bad?
f4, maybe e4.
Yeah, but then queen drops back to d2.
Okay.
So what white will try and do here typically in these kind of positions is break with c5, right?
Yeah.
And then the bishop pair could end up being ramped, but it's obviously at the moment it's difficult to get c5 in because it's contained. But rook c1, white's position is kind of playing itself to a certain degree, like rook c1, maybe even rook fc1, so that you can keep the rook on the queen side. And then maybe a4, a5 is another option as well for white.
Yeah, white's getting a space advantage over there.
Probably what you want to do, Natasha, is you want to go like rook ac1, and then put the other rook on d1.
Black's go at the moment, but
yeah. So that when I get c5 in, I've got this d takes c5, d6 idea. I'm wondering how white would make progress after a move like b6. And I think, to be honest with you, I think after f4, black probably wouldn't go. Possibly maybe wouldn't
not
go e4, because that kind of, there are some ideas where they can go. Maybe g5 here is too much.
g5 right away.
Yeah, that's probably too much because it's fg, right? Sometimes you can get away with ideas like that, but I think
you could probably go f4 though. Really.
Yeah, but you're giving away the e4. You're giving away maybe too many light squares. Maybe just bishop drop back, and then I go queen e4 at some point. Like bishop g5, or maybe bishop d2. I want to play. And
then
bishop takes. If I go queen e4, knight f6, queen f5. What's that like? I somehow don't trust this for black.
Yeah.
It feels a bit too flimsy, the whole construction. Yeah, I mean, the problem is f4 is very committal, so yeah, but I mean, it's like really double-edged, right? I mean, like f5, and then like you say, it's exciting. So
we'll see how that develops.
I quite like white's chances.
So is this a quick? It's a very quick draw. Okay, so we need to sit. And that's it. The draw.
It's not a great one for the spectators' point of view, is it?
I'm not expecting them to be turning up in the commentary room in just a second. But you never know, because Matthew, he tells a good story as well, does Matthew? So he might have a good story about this game.
I don't think so, but
no.
What can you say about this game? I mean, there is an argument for introducing Sophia rules to a lot of these tournaments to avoid that kind of scenario happening. But on the other hand, I can perfectly understand it. People are getting tired now. It's already this is round 8, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And
it's a tough
and most of the players are amateurs, so it's kind of, this
this
is their holiday. Yeah.
He is a chess professional, but only in the sense that he teaches at a school in Millfield in Somerset.
That's right.
Full time. And therefore, when he plays chess, it's not really like be all and end all for him. It's just like have a bit of fun. He played a nice ending today in the morning. Probably quite enjoyed that. And now he can just go out and just relax.
I work for chess.com now. Yeah, that's true. No, that's right.
But I feel like, I still feel that maybe that option should be taken away, because I feel like, but on the other hand, the schedule is very tough for these tournaments. The problem is they have these financial constraints. So they have to basically put it all the games into, was how many days is it? 6 days, maybe?
It went from
6 or 7 days.
Was it Monday till Saturday? Yeah.
And the days of rest days, Natasha, are completely gone, you know, which is a shame. Like in these kind of tournaments, I remember when we had a rest day in the British Championships, but I can't remember last time I played in a tournament with a rest day. Obviously, they're still happening in the super tournaments because they've got a bigger budget, so they can afford to go, look, we're not going to play today, right? We're going to put you up in a hotel just so you can have a rest. But, you know,
in the seniors, you get one rest day. So when you get to that stage, Danny, in another 15, 20 years' time, then you'll be back having rest days.
Sorry, what did you just say? You said it in the seniors, you mean?
I said in the seniors when you get
there.
I'm
only 3 years away. I'm 2.5 years away.
Yeah, I was.
But I'll refuse to play in seniors because I don't believe in seniors chess.
It's fun. It's fun. You will when you get there. But
I'm terrified of getting older. So
right. A rest day. Then if you're working, it's a day's holiday, and you kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's understand. I mean, you know, like Fernandez had a rest morning today by taking a draw.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and having a bye, because then why have a rest day and force everybody to rest? Although I do, sorry, I've got. On the other hand, if everybody's off, then you're going to go and do something nice.
I can't really criticise Fernandez for taking a bye because on the other hand, what Matthew Turner and Gormally have done is exactly the same in a way.
Yeah.
Because really what Fernandez has done is just saying, like, I just want to make a draw this round, so I'll take a bye.
Yeah.
All I would say is I just feel that it's kind of like a self-destructive thing for him in a way because he's kind of broken his momentum. And it's a little bit like Nigel Short talks about in his book. And he says, you know, when you take draws, you're on a roll, you're doing well. You take draws, it just comes back to bite you. It's like you've violated the goddess Kiasa. And, you know, he was talking about some tournament he played where he won like 6 games in a row. And then he made a huge mistake of taking a quick draw in like round 7 or something. So, and then he sure enough, he lost the very next game.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the statistics are behind that, but it'd be interesting to know. But obviously,
it would, and it's probably doable to actually
find out,
calculate those statistics.
Maybe I'll start doing
another project.
When people start taking draws, what are their results in the very next game?
The thing is, though, Danny, there's loads of things to take into account in that because you can't tell, like from the data in the database, you can't tell if someone's tired or if someone has played that player, you know, doesn't fancy it that day, not feeling well, or whatever. There's lots of things you can't take into account. You could look at a streak of whether you've won your previous and that sort of thing. And whether you've been playing a lot recently or not, you can take it. There's a lot of things you could take into account, but I don't think you could be hard to get a full picture, I think.
But you could just get the pure numbers at the same time.
You could get the numbers.
Pure numbers, which would tell you something.
Yes.
But as far as Fernandez in this situation, it's a good chance for him to get a result against Mickey because if I was in the situation Mickey was and I was just playing the morning game, a long game, and I had to play Fernandez in the afternoon, I'd just be like, please give me a draw with White. I'm White. I'll just like, please, and be probably refused, right? Fernandez would probably refuse. But I'd be like, Nicky's made of different stuff, right? He's made of different material, and he'd probably be like, yeah, okay, I'm tired, but objectively, I've still got a good chance this game. But it's a huge advantage to not play the morning.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I remember I played a game recently in Northumbria Masters. It was round 8, and I played against Sauray. It was a really long game, really tough game. I really had to work hard to win the game. Sauray's quite a tough opponent. He's playing in this tournament as well. Yeah. And in the afternoon, I just agreed a quick draw with Keith Arkle because, you know, I just so tired.
Yeah, no, you would be. Yeah.
You know, so it's like.
Right. Let's see. Richard York Weaving against Jonah Willow. Because both of those had, I think, if I'm remembering right, they both had interesting games this morning. And now we've got another Sicilian, Danny. Another one.
Oh, so Matthew Turner doesn't work. He works for chess.com now, does he?
Yeah.
What does he do for chess.com, just out of interest?
Well, I spoke to him. Actually, I spoke to him about that at this tournament last year.
Right.
And I have a feeling it's something to do with the anti-cheating stuff.
I thought that was Matthew
but I don't know
Payne.
precisely what.
I'm getting confused now because I thought Matthew Payne worked for that anti-cheating. So maybe that whole anti-cheating team is full of Matthews.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's interesting, right? Maybe I could try and get a job at chess.com, like as a T-boy or something.
Your name's not Matthew, though. You're Danny. So there must be a speciality for Danny's.
Did they replace the Millfield job, or did that go, or did they replace him, or what happened? Or he just decided to?
I don't know. Loz might know that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that development. A massive development in the chess world. Yeah. So this game, Jonah Willow is normally very well prepared. He's playing against Richards.
Yeah. So Richards got an early B3 here against the Sicilian.
Yeah, he likes to play fianchetto.
He's doing his fianchettos. Yeah. Oh, this looks like an interesting. I'm having ideas myself. Maybe I'll try this one out one time. What might you know, Loz? You might know if anyone is doing. Matt Turner was working at Millfield. You might know if someone else is doing that job, or whether that's not happening, or whether Matt's still doing some. Yeah. Knight c6, c4. Ah, okay. So he's
Yeah. Okay. He just wants to go d4. I mean, play the fianchetto. I mean, play the Marcosi bind style.
Did we see this game? I'm now trying to remember if I've seen. Maybe we saw another game of Rich Weaving's. Not sure if the teaching post still exists. Knight f6, e5.
Right.
Knight g4.
Yeah, logical.
h3. So knight here, coming around to f5. So knight c3, knight f5.
Yeah.
Knight e4. This looks fun.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Takes. The pawn. Okay. f4.
Yeah, none of these moves make any sense to me.
d6 and takes.
Right. Yeah, but bishop d6 actually just looks quite nice for black.
The only thing is, right, why would you want your pawn on f4?
Yeah, this is the problem. It could blow up in your face. Like bishop d6, okay.
Okay, bishop d6, but I guess then white can take off the bishop at least.
Yeah. Maybe he's considering playing f5 instead of bishop d6.
Right.
Just kick the knight and then take back the bishop. Maybe that's his.
That's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it is. It might be a terrible idea.
Looks like a good idea.
Yeah.
It might still be a terrible idea, but it looks like a good idea. So maybe knight g5.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then takes.
Yeah. Maybe c5 and sack a pawn. I'm doing. No, there's bishop f4, so I'm forgetting about. Yeah. Are you sure knight g5 is the best move though?
No, maybe not. You can't go like queen h5 or anything.
Queen h5, g6.
G6, and that's. Well, you can't. I mean, I'm sure this won't. You can't just come in.
Bishop f4
here.
Oh, you have queen g7, right?
Queen g7 was what I was thinking.
Very clever.
But this is crazy stuff, right? Because then you could even. There's a check there, so this king has to move as well.
There's also bishop e5 is mate 1. Yeah, that's really careless.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
This is puzzle rush, right?
Yeah, rook f8 is a move, but then knight h7. You're right. Actually, maybe
I don't know. It's just kind of not clear, but it's a bit weird.
So you think? So do we think he might go f5 instead of just take? I mean, you could take. How bad is bishop d6? Is it that bad?
So bishop d6.
Knight. Let's say knight d6.
I feel like you take it. Takes. And then, but this is annoying, isn't it? Having that pawn.
Yeah. Do I play me like queen f3 maybe?
Well, queen g4 trying to take on g7 perhaps.
Queen g4, but then I'll just castle.
Yeah. So queen f3.
Maybe queen f3.
Yeah, and lining up this perhaps and coming out.
Yeah, it's like a king's gambit, isn't it? In a way, it's like, I mean, you get much worse positions as white in a king's gambit.
Oh gosh, you do. I've had all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like a dream king's gambit.
Yeah.
Where it's probably equal. So you know, so I think F5 is probably the combative move if you want to be. Maybe I'll check on my phone and cheat and then see what the engine is saying, or maybe I'll see if there's any good Gorm engine corner. Right.
Say again.
I'll see if there's any good suggestions by the engine in these kind of positions.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, Natasha. I think it's actually a very interesting position. What's happening in the Adams game? I'm really intrigued. This is a game I want to see.
Mickey's, yeah. Ooh, we got a
it's blown up now. Knight A3 is blown up.
Yeah. Where did we see up to? We had Queen B6 in.
Yeah.
Queen D2, Bishop G4. Rook D1, H5.
By the way, some people that I know were confidently predicting that Adams will win this game. Not me, but some people I chat to online.
Yeah. Maybe
they just feel that Fernandez is a bit too bit too much of a loose goose against. It's we were saying about it's a good style thing.
Yeah.
For Tiviakov playing against Willows, probably I think that was a good matchup for Tiviakov.
Yeah.
Styles make fights in chess games, and I think Fernandez is a good pairing for Mickey because he's a little bit loose. And Mickey probably calculates a little bit better than he does. So therefore, that kind of works out. That's one of the things I read actually in this book recently. They were saying that if you've got two players and they've both got a dynamic style, the heads up will be more in the favor that the stronger dynamic player will have a much bigger plus score than if it's, say, like a matchup between two positional players where one player is slightly stronger than the other.
And I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And the dynamic against the positional, I think it's hard for the dynamic player sometimes.
Yeah, because it's almost like you're playing against like a rock. It's like a rock, scissors, stone. I mean, just give you an example. I had a quite a reasonable record against Wayne Jones over the years, but David Howard's, kind of like a similar level, very bad record against, because I found with David, he'd never give you any chances.
Yeah.
He'd kind of shut down your play, very good prophylactic player. And wow. You know what he's saying? It does look like a ropey position for black.
In the other game or this
one? No, in this game that we're on at the moment.
Yeah.
It's saying that Adams is totally, should I tell you, it's kind of, it hated this move H5 by Fernandez.
Really?
It hates this move. It's actually that's not so bad. No, actually H5 is not so bad, but when he took on C4, that was a huge mistake.
So DC is a mistake here.
Yeah, because Knight A3 is like massive for white.
Thing is, though, Danny often gets into. It doesn't worry him, does it? Being just worse computer-wise, he's often like that.
Yeah, but
you can turn it around.
Massive.
But against Mickey, it's different, isn't it? Mickey.
No, exactly. I mean,
my money's on Mickey.
I think everybody's money's on Mickey. Yeah, but obviously, once we've seen the computer valuation, we're going to put the money on. But and in a way, it's this kind of, in a sad kind of way, it's kind of developing similar to the game in Leicester. We'll say sad from Fernandez's point of view, good from Mickey Adams' point of view. Because, that game was, he kind of, I think he played a little bit too creatively. He started going A5, A4. So maybe the tendency with the H pawn, he's not getting the tendency with the H pawn right. He's playing H5 and maybe actually H5 wasn't that bad. It was just taking on C4 was the mistake. But in the other game, we were talking about the Richard Walk the Gormally engine corner.
Yeah. Well, let's see. But yeah, Richard Weaving and Jonah Willow we were looking at, F5.
Yeah,
and F5 is
F5 is a good move, and black is better.
And black is better. Because I was wanting knight G5 and queen.
Yeah, so your line, right,
yeah,
Natasha,
is no good.
G6, queen H6. So we'll play all that out. Actually, I'm seeing a good move here. Right. I kind of saw it before I saw the computer move, because once you know there's a good move in the position.
Yeah.
Right. So bishop takes D6, queen H5.
Yeah.
G6, queen H6. Well, think about it. What's a good move here for black? Actually, more than one good move, but even that line with bishop F4 was okay, by the way, because you just move the rook after queen G7 and you're better. But there's a couple of very strong moves.
Maybe like queen E7 to just stop the queen coming in.
Queen E7, knight F3 is not so clear.
Okay.
There's a couple of good moves here.
Yeah.
I put away the computer now because I'm cheating and it's kind of boring. You know, I need to use my own brain like you do, Natasha, rather than.
How about? Yeah. I want to stop this queen going in then.
There's once you see it, there's a really simple move. Once you see it, you're like,
bishop back to F8?
Exactly. Because then you have to go out to H4, which is a little bit ugly.
Yeah. Oh, and then bishop G7.
Or just H6 maybe. Because then you're going to have to swap queens.
Rather than swap of queens. Yeah.
But maybe I'll just trade and go king F7 or something.
Yeah.
Let me check again. I'm still not sure. It's so much easier when you got the computer telling you.
It is, isn't it?
It's like it's a bishop F8, and then hang on, I've got some silly update now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, I think obviously Willow is doing quite well in that game, and he's generally a very well prepared player.
Yeah. I'm going to very, very quickly check back in Rich and Rakaya. Okay. So Rakaya's just put her knight on C6. That looks slightly strange to me, putting it in front of the C pawn.
Yeah, because you're killing this C5 break, which is an important break for black in these kind of. But it's the way she's played it with putting the bishop on G7 is slightly unusual anyway. You don't normally play the Queen's Indian in that way.
Yeah, maybe she's trying to go.
Oh no, sorry, she hasn't played a Queen's Indian. She's played it's like a G3 King's Indian, but he's managed to provoke the move G5.
Yeah.
So how would Richard play here? Maybe Rook C1.
Yeah.
Let's say I just play like bunny chess, like Bishop D7, just like.
I think she'd go this. I think she's planning this.
With the idea of what?
B7. Coming out that way.
Ah, right, yeah.
Maybe.
And if I go H4, leave you on the king side, that's just not going to help me.
Ooh. Then G4.
G4. And if knight FE5, then maybe H5 you want to play, right?
Yeah, but my pawns are getting a bit further forward than I'd ideally want.
Yeah. Bishop D2 maybe. In turning E4 and F3 and breakout.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I've often wondered, in my games, you often wonder that, how do you actually play if people just make just basic developing moves, right? So if we go back to the position, instead of knight E7, right, let's say you just went bishop D7.
Bishop D7, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you just got the piece out, like what is White's plan? How is White going to continue? Because, you still have to come up with a plan. You still have to show something.
It's true.
And the problem is bishop d2 is dropping d4. So you'd like to like kick that knight on d5, which is a kind of annoying. Maybe you go, and the problem, yeah, knight e5. I'm kind of, you're busting me on e3. You're busting my pawn structure, which I don't really want.
Maybe still h4.
Maybe h4. Yeah, I said like h4, g4. Right, let's say knight h2. Now I go to h2, and then you go h5. There's also ideas of maybe taking on d4, taking on e3 and taking on d4 is another option.
Yeah.
Maybe that's her idea, Natasha. Maybe she wants to go g4 to kind of, that's why she put knight on c6. To kind of
keep pressure on there. Yeah.
Yeah, put pressure on d4, right? And I was chatting with somebody actually, because we were talking about some of these younger female players, and obviously she was saying with Bodhana, that Bodhana has improved massively. She said a while back she was blundering pieces, losing all sorts of games, and now she's really, really solid.
Let's see it. You've mentioned her. We're going to see her games. She's black against Santosh Abiude and Furkan. Queen f3 here.
Oh, queen f3. That's slightly unusual, but not terrible.
Takes. And f6, bishop c4.
I think Bodhana is pretty well versed in the Kara already.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you think she will get picked for the Olympiad side?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've got to be careful when I ask you. I forget that you're a selector, but I would imagine she'll be in contention because they tend to promote younger players. And if she keeps gaining ratings, she probably needs to get to about 2100 to be in contention. But it's a realistic possibility now. And I think it would give the team a boost to have her in the team, But there's other players in contention like Zoe Varney, like Camilla.
It depends who's available. Yeah.
It depends whether people like Harriet want to play, Jovanka want to play. They're also in contention. It'd be a great boost, like if someone like Bodhana ends up playing for England over the next few years because she's clearly like a star. Yeah. And eventually, you would imagine she'd probably get in the full team, right?
Maybe, yeah.
She could be British #1 in a few years.
I mean, if you had a team of people her age, should Where is she #1 of her age? I actually don't know the answer to that. I think she certainly was. There's her and Kushal as similar.
Oh, you mean amongst British players?
Yeah. I think he or she was 1 point higher than the other. But she's gaining how many? She's gaining some crazy number of points this tournament, right?
I think Lorenzo Fava's doing very well on rating as well.
Is he the same age?
Shed load. He's like 2300 strength, I think.
Right.
So wait,
she's
getting at least 70, 80 points this tournament. I think.
Yeah, her rating will be higher than mine after this tournament, I think.
What's your rating?
I can't remember, but I'm saying
my rating will be higher than mine soon, probably.
It has to be higher than yours after the next year's tournament.
Oh, thank you.
That's all right. This year's tournament. So she's gaining 90 points so far this tournament.
It's crazy.
So she's 1898. So she'll be plus 90. She will actually be 1988.
But the danger is with juniors as well. The downside is they can also lose a lot of points. I've seen that with junior players. You expect them to keep improving exponentially. It doesn't work out like that. You get your bad tournaments, and then you're dropping 80 points as well.
Yeah, well, she might, but then she'll gain it. She'll gain even more the next time. So
overall, I mean,
overall paths up, and if it fluctuates up and down a little bit, it's kind of.
She works hard on chess, and I mean, I have heard that she was thinking about quitting chess, but I wasn't sure how reliable that story.
Who was thinking of quitting chess?
Bodhana. She had periods where she wanted to quit and start doing piano instead. But then she went back to chess. So, but yeah, I mean, I think she's really the most promising player I think that we've had for many, many years. You just get that impression that she's obviously a future star if she sticks with it. Whereas the other players, I don't know, I just get that impression that we see players. Don't get me wrong, I think they're very good. The other younger players.
And lots of keen players as well, which I think is one of the main things. Just really wanting to play.
But she's already got this very well-versed repertoire, and it's very consistent. You know, I said that about Adams, that one of his great strengths is the consistency, Natasha.
Yeah.
And she's already like got a consistent repertoire that she's you know, holding the fort with. You know, she's like holding the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe Castle's there. Why go knight d5 though? Why not just castle?
So castle.
How bad is that? It's interesting she went for knight d5 because, yeah, often the knight is well placed in the Karakam. That's you know, knight d5 is quite an interesting move, but I possibly might have just castled there as black, but yeah, because I think there was a danger that sometimes you can move the piece too often in the opening, right? It's not necessary to move the knight there. You just castle and then black is fine. What's their opponent's rating? It's 2100, right?
Yeah.
Is this a young player as well? That's his playing?
That's what I was just going to look up, actually. I'm just looking it up on chess results. So Santosh is from India, and Petswood and Orpington as well. It doesn't actually say the year, so I'm just going to need to look it up on...
right.
If I look it up on... FIDE.
Well, somebody asked me, am I a chess coach? Yeah, I do some coaching, Levy. Yeah, thanks for asking. Am I allowed to say how much?
Yeah, go on, because I'm just going to be looking something up.
Yeah, I charge £50 an hour because I get a lot of people contacting me and then they never contact me again when I say that my price is £50 an hour. That's the typical price for a GM, I'm afraid. So that might be out of your price range, I don't know, but a lot of people get put off by that price. I don't really want to lower it to like 20 or 30 because, you know, it's kind of like barely above minimum wage, right? You should get paid reasonably well for like grandmaster expertise, I think.
Yeah, and obviously you can't coach from morning to after. You know, you're not coaching all day.
That's the thing. You're not doing like 7 hours a day of coaching,
and you need to prep it and all this sort of stuff. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I tend to just do a lot of it is based around analysing people's games and trying to show them how they can analyse their games better. And the thing is, that's why you don't necessarily need, I think, an ongoing relationship with a student, because 1 or 2 lessons should be enough to help you improve anyway, or point you in the right direction. So it tends to be with coaching, Natasha. I don't know if do you ever do any chess coaching or any other kind of coaching?
Not really. Occasionally do sort of sessions with groups of kids as a one-off, but not regularly.
Yeah, but I tend to find, you know, the most important thing about chess improvement is yourself. It doesn't matter, you know, how good your coach is. If you're not willing to invest the time yourself, you're not going to, you know, all the better players in England, they were kind of obsessed with chess at some point in their lives, and that's why they got good.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it wasn't because they got coaching. Yeah, they might have got some coaching as well, but yeah, and I think actually the England philosophy over the years has been to essentially rely on your own abilities, because...
Well, I actually wonder, right? Because you do, I guess if you do a lot of thinking on your own,
sure,
and then having an hour or 2 with a coach can kind of, then you can try out all those ideas on them and get a steer, and then do that more thinking on your own, and then speak with a coach about it. So I can kind of see you'd need or having both parts is going to be the quickest way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you get guidance. Like, I mean, I feel like if I'd have had coaching, when I read these Dvoretsky books when I was a kid, they helped me to improve a lot. And it's kind of like coaching in a way. But I think if I'd have had a full-time coach, interesting to know if someone like Adams, what level of coaching that he had when he was younger. I'm sure he must have had some kind of coaching. It was mainly, though, with England chess players, like people like Tony Miles, who were kind of like self-made, like mavericks, one-offs, lone wolves, however you like to call it. And we had that kind of philosophy for many years in this country. However, we've seen countries like India, they've jumped ahead of us. I've talked about this before. They've jumped ahead of us because they kind of got that kind of communal, inclusive way of improving. Like the Russian school of chess, which is more kind of a communal, people training together. And India kind of copied that. China did to a certain degree as well, because that's why they ended up with world champion. And they all train together, like say for example, the female players, they'll train with the male 2700 players.
Yeah.
And, they all like help each other, bring each other on. And you see like in India, Gukesh is training with Pragananda and all this kind of bring each other on. So I think we got to a point now in England where actually the approach we were doing before doesn't really work. We need to have a more communal and a kind of better way of bringing the players together so they kind of bring each other on, is what I would try to say, really.
Very interesting comment in the chat about being a coach is similar to being a counsellor. What do you think of that, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny you should say that, because I did a counselling certificate.
Did you?
From Northumbria University a few years ago.
Yeah.
So what I would do is Northumbrian College, which is in Ashington. I'm currently doing another course for them actually at the moment, or doing a course through them. So I should say. And but to get to Ashington, it was like a nighttime thing. So the reason I went on that was basically I was doing coaching with a guy called Richard Simmons. He was a really nice guy. Sadly, died quite recently from cancer, not that long ago. And he wasn't that old, actually. He was only in his 60s. Lovely guy. And he lived in New Biggin. He's from the south. He's kind of from the south, but he moved up to northeast. And I was saying to him, I'm struggling to meet people. And he said, why don't you do a counselling course? Because, you meet people and you get like a certificate. So I would go along to Ashington and I'd do the course. And it was funny, though, because when I left, the bus had already gone, right? The last bus, you couldn't get the last bus. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to get like a £19 taxi journey to a bus stop in the middle of nowhere, actually near Widrington Station, and then wait for the X18 to turn up, which often take about an hour for it to turn up. I remember one time I was freezing cold, middle of winter, and it was just like, harsh conditions, and I'm like, nobody around, and I'm waiting. What am I doing in my life? This is so depressing. But I got like counselling. I think chess coaching is a little bit like counselling. You're absolutely right. And in fact, you don't really need a certificate to do chess coaching. You basically, like, anybody can do chess coaching, and it's the same with counselling. You don't actually need to be certified to do counselling. I'm not sure there's like official body you can do it with, but you can do, like, if you want to be a psychotherapist, you need to be a qualified doctor, effectively. But to be a counsellor, you don't actually need. I could set myself up as a counsellor tomorrow. Or you could set yourself up as a counsellor and be a counsellor. So similar to chess, right? It's all that comes from yourself.
Right, Danny, I'm going to have to go quite shortly.
I need to leave quite soon as well, because I've got a tournament at 7. So.
Oh, okay. Me too. Yeah, okay.
Oh, you're playing the same tournament, are you?
I doubt it. What's yours?
My one's on Lee Chess.
My one's on Play Strategy.
No, it's not. Is it chess?
Yes.
Oh, is it any prize money involved?
No prize money.
I won't bother then.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
mine's part of
yeah,
it. Part of it, and mine's sports Grand Prix. So chess is kind of one of the games.
Yeah. Maybe we'll stop there. But in answer to the question, yeah, chess is my main job. Yeah, most chess players, strong chess players, chess is their main job. I mean, Amit Gartsi, for example, in the tournament, he's an example of a very strong amateur. He's got a pretty decent career as an accountant, actually, but he's obviously a very strong player. He's stronger than most professionals, stronger than players like myself in full time. So that's impressive in its own, makes you realize how strong he could become if he just went full time and,
Danny, I'm just going to play through the moves to get to where we are in Brodana's game. C4,
Sure.
knight F6. So that's kind of where they are. Looks... Well, I mean, there's a lot of play left in this game, but now all the central pawns are off. I could imagine it just kind of trading off a bit.
Yeah, I think Brodana, somebody was saying this, that they're very good at holding and making a draw, but at some point he probably needs to maybe find more ambitious openings with black. Once he gets stronger, at the moment it's fine because he's just gaining points. Every time he draws, he gains points. But once he plays these players in the future, so he might be higher rated. So the Caro's great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he should give up the Caro, but at some points he's going to have to be more ambitious and trying to beat people. But at the moment, draws are great for her because she's just gaining points. So she's clearly shown the ability to be solid, which is good. And as I said before, I think she's got that consistency in a game and like consistent, that we see in great.
Remember, if she's like, if she just plays on in an end game, then Magnus Carlsen does that. So
exactly, and you need that. Is what I keep saying. We've seen that with Fernandez, we've seen that with Mickey. That they're great grinders. But unfortunately, Fernandez, maybe in this round, he's not going to get to an end game if it carries on the way.
Let's just see that, and then we'll wind up.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where they are. Okay, so we saw it DC4, knight A3, and we've just had 2 more moves since then. Queen A5, and then Mickey's played DC5. So we've got this interesting setup with the c-pawns kind of round the wrong way.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think he's going to get punished for it. I really do think. I like Dan, he's a really nice guy. But I do think it was a mistake to take a bye. Because you're right in the mix and you've broken all your momentum. Yeah, you might have lost the next round anyway, like in the morning, but at least you can't have any regrets, But now he's going to think, should I have taken a bye at all, because he's breaking his momentum. And from a competitive point of view, it might have cost him. It might have been a negative.
Okay, I think we've lost Danny on the stream, but we're winding up anyway. There you are. No, you're back. Hello, Danny. We lost you for a second.
Sorry,
but I think we're winding up anyway. So
yeah, no worries. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was babbling too much. The stream broke because it got so bored of me babbling on about. But yeah, Matt Blackhead's Mickey. That's what I was saying to you, Natasha. That he very rarely fails to he might get stuck in a draw up with black, but he's not going to get stuck in a draw right with white. He's just very, very tough to get a result against when you're black against him.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so just one more round to go tomorrow. Still wide open as to who can win. We'll have to see also the big board 1 clash between Tivi and lost my mouse here and Martin Halbro. Okay, so all to play for. And Danny, thanks very much for doing the commentary.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks
tomorrow. Yeah, back tomorrow in the morning, 11 a.m. With Lan Yao. So hope to see you then. And thanks everyone very much for watching.